Well, um, what a weekend it was. What a weekend it was. We had some good games, a lot less like out of nowhere results as we've had recently, but still nonetheless a lot of
Yeah.
fun. A really good week 6 of college football. Welcome in to Armchair Analysis here on this fine Sunday evening. My alarm didn't work. I wanted to watch the Giants game. Probably could have skipped out on that. And went on about my day today. So as we get going here, BJ, how you doing?
Oh, I'm all right. It was a pretty decent weekend, all in all, for everything that was going on. And you said that we had, kind of like less out of nowhere results, but I will raise you or one up you and say that I think we had less, but we had the ultimate uh, out of nowhere result that we will certainly be talking about here this evening. So
Yeah,
everything's all good. Interesting uh, day of college football. Interesting day of some of the other sports going on here today, and so it's exciting for the week to come and to see what what the storylines are going to be because there's definitely some talk among some here that I know of mutiny with a certain team, or at least they're calling for it. Basically,
yeah.
it's we'll get to it. It's there's a lot to take away from this week. Was it week 6, week 5, something like that?
It was week 6, as I
Okay,
mentioned.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah, I thought it was.
we've got a lot to get in here, and I'm reading chats here. These fucking guys, these non-ball knowers, don't know who Mike Sanders still is. Of all things, like
Oh my
it's
gosh.
okay to maybe not be familiar, but to sit here and tell me you've never heard the name is kind of crazy for college football diehards that claim to
They
be in some of these
they
chats.
I thought they were trolling. I didn't even bother with responding because it's like, how do you not know the name if you're, as much as we talk about college football? But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Oh
one
well.
something interesting. There was, I believe, 5 1/3 no-hit innings for the Toronto starter today,
No.
and after he got pulled, the Yankees ended up with 7 runs and 10 hits against the Toronto bullpen.
Oh.
So, ew.
Oh. I forgot what's this show called?
This show is called "Are We Back In on
No,
Bama?"
that's not what I said.
Question mark.
What is the overarching title of the show? Or basically, what are we
We
talking
oh
about? College football? Oh, okay, cool. Anyways,
okay, sweet.
let's we'll talk college football today. If you don't
Yeah.
mind, maybe we'll come back and talk about some other
Well,
things
we
later
were
on.
we were
But
on a tangent. I thought it was okay.
I don't think we were on a full on tangent. But anyways,
The
um,
Sanders though, it's all good.
well, we were on
It's
that,
at
but we
least
were
football
not.
related.
Well, it is because it was guys that said they'd never heard the name before. I just thought that it was interesting. So, anyways, um, let's go ahead and roll through some of these results. Yeah, we saw some big ones, and we'll talk about them. Better yet, let's just go ahead and get
Into the
them out.
show.
Let's just go ahead and get them out of the way now. As a matter of fact, why don't rather than make everybody wait for some of the games that meant a lot here, and let's go ahead and start with one that probably is a little less surprising to everybody. The Vanderbilt, sorry, Bama takes down Vandy. That's their first loss of the year, 30-14 win, and I got to be honest, I'm really buying in on Ty Simpson here. I'm really buying in. We saw week 1. We saw
I
it was a little off base. It comes back in the last 4 games, man. They have been much improved. Really, the last portion of that game against Florida State started to figure things out, started to move the ball a little better, push it on down the line. Now this is back-to-back wins over top 25 teams, and really dominant in doing so. Vandy had some early success, but as the game went on, Alabama was able to shut that down and really took care of business. This is a team that I'm starting to really buy into as a championship contender. They are really putting the things together, doing it all the right way. And the more we see Jan Miller do what he's done, 136 rushing yards in that game, the more we see Ty Simpson pass for 340, 2 touchdowns. I don't care about the interception. He had 2 touchdowns, was great in this game. The interception came on a 4th down, by the way. Really not that
Yeah,
deep. If it was an arm punt on 4th down, I'm not ever going to be mad at a quarterback for a 4th down INT.
right, and it was his first of the year. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
it was, crunch. It wasn't like one of Pavia's where it was crunch time. You were trailing, you were heaving it, trying to, get downfield, or you were in the red zone and you just completely missed, the read and trying to see
But I'm
what
not taking
the
a dig at
the
Pavia
safeties
because
were
I'm
doing.
gonna
No, no,
we're
no,
gonna
no.
we're gonna come back to that. But I'm gonna push
Yeah,
forward. Ryan Williams, 98 receiving yards on 6 catches, had a 54-yarder, a touchdown. Jeremy Bernard had 82 reception yards in the touchdown. This team really starts to put this thing together and become more consistent. And then they do what they're able to do. This defense has been doing. People don't like Kane Womack. I don't really know why. I think Kane Womack is a really solid play caller, really solid play
yeah,
design, and I really think the world of what this Bama team is turning into. They can continue what they're doing. They certainly become a championship contender. We just have to see the consistency, right? You saw the Florida State game. We all got turned off by that Florida State game. What we've seen the last 4 games, especially, now that they're in the SEC play, a dominant win over Georgia, a dominant win over Vanderbilt, and continuing to move forward. Those are 2 good teams. Vandy is going to finish in the top 25, and Vandy is likely going to have 9 or 10 wins. That's the kind of team that I'm seeing right now with what they have. Now, they've got LSU next after a bye week, but they get to host them in Nashville, so that's an interesting one. They get to host Missouri in 3 weeks. Then they get Texas, who can't move the ball. Like right now, Vandy could beat Texas in DKR. That'd
mm-hmm,
be incredible.
mm-hmm.
They get Auburn. That's a tough game. And then they get Tennessee, who can't play defense. This Vandy team can win 9 or 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
8-4 would be a magnificent season, but I think they can get to 9 at least. So
Yeah.
when we look at what these teams are and what they did yesterday, give the credit that's deserved to Alabama. And don't just say, oh, Vandy went back to normal. This is an Alabama team that fought through the first portion of this game when Vandy gained a lot of momentum on a couple big plays from Cedric Alexander. And they answered back, and they took care of business in this game. I made it the title for a reason. 100% back on Alabama. This is a team that I think has a legitimate shot, again, to not only just get to the playoffs, which I think is pretty much, if they can keep doing what they're doing, they're going to get back to the playoffs. But then they're going to carry that forward into maybe a deep run in the playoffs. This is a team that can certainly do it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this flat out. You were asking me, I think, before the end of the show yesterday, if what we saw from Ty Simpson, if that would vault him up into the conversation, and I'm fully on board with that. I think that it's there's like you said with Mateer being out for yesterday, being out maybe still some question marks. I would expect he will not play this Saturday. I think that won't matter.
They don't need him this Saturday, I promise you. They don't need him.
That's yeah. I was gonna say I don't think that'll matter. But either way,
hey, assholes.
It's not one of those things that.
Sorry, sorry, my bad, dude. I didn't have time to mute myself. I had to get after this.
Well, I figured you weren't calling me an asshole while I was trying to, talk about Ty Simpson. But anyway, with what we saw from what we've seen from Mendoza, and obviously he's going to have a big, game here coming up this week to really set himself up with more of conversation. What we could see this week with Oregon and Indiana, with Dante Moore and Mendoza going head to head, is whoever wins that game is right neck and neck with Ty Simpson so far for the tops of the Heisman race, and I think that's perfectly fair. Ty Simpson has certainly found his footing in this Ryan Grubb offense. It's there's not the shakiness that Jalen Milroe had at times last year, because Milroe, as gifted of a player as he is, and his dual threat abilities were both a good thing and a bad thing at times. Simpson is a pure passer and slings the ball around, and one of the big question marks about Bama was the rushing ability. Oh, they proved they can run the ball with Jam Miller, and they don't even necessarily have to just run it with him. You have all those quick passes out to the flats.
We got a light
they
fix.
use it.
Sorry.
What was that?
I had to put a new light bulb in. I had one that blew out on me. And sure enough, it's the one that's right above me, so it made it look darker over here. Now I got it in.
Oh, yeah, I just now
and now it's good. So, anyways, we're good. Sorry. But I do want to counter off of you real quick, just for a moment.
Okay.
Ty Simpson, pure passer. Not quite. Now, he's more of a pocket passer, more of a notable player, to stand in there and get the pass off. But he's been pretty athletic this year. He's made a lot of plays off of just straight improvisation that have really captured some momentum for this offense at times.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to cut you off. I really wasn't. I was actually just excited that we got this light on and working. But
yeah, it's all good. It's funny because
but Ty Simpson.
I was looking at stats. I didn't even see that you were in the dark for a second.
But Ty Simpson, I think, is really coming into his own, really learning how to play within this offense, and kind of proving why he was named the starter to begin with. He's done a really good job, and I think that he certainly does make a short list right now as a Heisman candidate, which I'll have my short list tomorrow, by the way, for anybody who's curious.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fair. But yeah, you've seen this is the Alabama won this game with their defense. Alabama won their game with especially their ability to move the ball. I thought that it was going to be a Vanderbilt cover for the longest time because you saw after half Vandy's defense was bend but don't break. They gave up a couple of field goals. In fact, they gave up 3 to Alabama, and it looked like despite their offense not doing much of anything, you had a couple of red zone turnovers, which Vandy has not done a lot this year, especially in the red zone. But the fumble that was very close to being down, the bad read from Pavia on the interception, took some points off the board. But certainly Alabama, killing the clock on that 8-minute drive that put the game away. At that point it was 23-14. They got the late touchdown that ultimately killed a lot of people's Vandy covers. If you were one of those that bet that.
Yeah.
With like a minute and a half to go on the 4th down run. But either way, this is a really good Alabama team. They should be the favorites to win the SEC at this point based on what we've seen. And, I think that they're finally, like you said, it could have been just as easily as when we saw them, in that second half start to figure things out in the Florida State game. But ever since that Florida State game especially, they have been playing on a different level. Now, I feel like if they got Georgia again, it would be another tight game, and Georgia could exact some revenge. That's about really the only team right now that I feel is on that level with Alabama. I don't even know I think Ole Miss would be able to knock out Alabama in Atlanta. I think if it's Alabama Georgia, that's about the only team that I think Alabama may lose to, at least in terms of the SEC race. I'm going to look at the rest of their schedule. Obviously, they don't get Ole Miss in the regular season. It would be a game that they would play in Atlanta. But I think they're better than Missouri. They got the home field advantage against Tennessee, and we've seen Tennessee's defense struggle. That will, that might be a first to 30 type of game with Alabama's defense if they can get pressure on Joey Aguilar like they did against Diego Pavia. South Carolina, even on the road, is a little too inconsistent. LSU, I'm not worried about, especially at home. Oklahoma, Mateer will be back by then. That's going to be an interesting.
I think I'm gonna tell you right now. I think
the
biggest challenge to Alabama might be Oklahoma and the defense that they put on the field. I just think that's one of the few defenses that will be able to really hang with this offense as the year goes on. And if John Mateer comes back healthy, able to play at his best, I think that's going to be a heavyweight battle that we may get again in Atlanta, if I'm being completely honest with what we're seeing.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
But nonetheless, a big win for them. And again, Vanderbilt's not going anywhere. This is a good football team, really disciplined, really sound fundamentally as a football team. They just got beat by a team that was better. And there's not many teams that are going to be able to play their best game against this Vandy team. It's just not going to happen. I really think that they are legitimately in for a path of 9 to 10 wins. If they get to 10, they get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's bold to say because there's a lot that can happen.
Is.
But if they get to 10, the wins they'll have on their resume, no matter who that second loss is to, the wins they'll have on that resume will lock them into a playoff spot.
I was to say, I mean, the right now you're talking about.
You're looking at wins against
you
either
know,
LSU, Missouri, Texas,
Tennessee,
Tennessee,
Texas.
those four, with a loss to one of them.
One of those, yeah.
Come on. Or you beat all four of them and lose another game that maybe you shouldn't, like maybe to Kentucky
Like
or something. Auburn.
Yeah. Which isn't.
You're still in the
blow.
playoffs. You're still in the playoffs because
Yeah.
those wins are going to supersede that one off game, especially if you lose close.
Yeah.
They're not out. Vandy's not out, and that's kind of interesting to say, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are not expecting them to get there. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs. Don't misunderstand me saying what is in front of them versus what they will do, because I don't think so. But I didn't think there would be a certain game result that happened yesterday that did. And let's go ahead and shift to it. UCLA, with all 50 fans in attendance, just dominate Penn State from start to finish. Lead every minute of this game, every second of this game. And that's a team that hasn't led all season. Not one single second of a game all season long. And UCLA flips the script, turns the tables, and leads all 60 minutes. A 42-37 win. And I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people are going to point to the quarterback, Drew Aller, which they have been. No, Drew Aller's not that good. Drew Aller can't do this, that. Well, I'll tell you right now that he is not the reason that you believe that they would lose this game. This team ran for 157 yards, and half of those rushing yards came off the legs of number 15. What winning combination is that? If Drew Aller is your leading rusher, that's a problem. Unless he runs for 150, and I'll give you a little hint here. He ain't running for 150 at any point in his career, I'll tell you that. 200 yards, 19 and 26. 2 touchdowns, no picks. He took care of the football. They didn't throw the ball as much as they probably should have. I think they expected to dominate the line of scrimmage. They didn't. We watched Utah dominate the line of scrimmage. We watched a lot of teams so far dominate on the line of scrimmage. And yet, here we sit with UCLA coming out, and they played their best game when it mattered. Nico Iamaleava was 17 and 24 with 2 touchdowns, threw only 166 yards, but added 128 on the ground. An impressive day for him. Anthony Woods and Javian Thomas both added another 60 apiece. This team ran for 280 yards, 5.4 per carry. They dominated Penn State at the line of scrimmage, which is something we haven't seen. And I'm going to tell you right now, the biggest thing that this defense really missed, and I said it yesterday. I said at some point they're going to miss him. Didn't know it was going to be yesterday. But the leader at linebacker, Tony Rojas, being out, I think made a big difference in communication and how this game ended up going down for Penn State defensively. As for the offense, they did what I thought they would do in this game. The offense did everything we expected them to do. They just could not figure it out defensively. That was a huge mess up on the case of Jim Knowles, and I don't really know what he could have done differently because everything UCLA did worked. I mean, there were so many flaws yesterday that I don't know the right way to go there. While I'm saying that, don't misunderstand me and take away this credit from UCLA for doing what they did. Tim Skipper, they prepared well. And Jerry Neuheisel, 11 years ago, he was carried off the field after a big-time win for this program at UCLA. This year, he's carried off the field after a big-time win as a play caller, not the quarterback. Love it. I mean, you love the storylines. You love the build-up, the stats in this game. I mean, it's not a game where Penn State turned the ball over. No, they just got flat-out beat. They got beat. And it started from the very beginning when UCLA marches down the field, scores a touchdown, turn around, onside kick, and get it. That turned this game completely on its head. You're down 14-0, and they never could get back within a score until that final possession of the game. It just was not their day. And unfortunately for them, defensively, they got to figure out a way to do it. Because 446 yards, this was probably the worst game that this Penn State defense has played in a really long time. And that goes back long before Tom Allen, long before Jim Knowles. And this goes back a long way. And we'll see how they answer. This is 2 straight losses. The first time they've done that in a really long time as well.
2021.
They've got some work to do. They've got it cut out in front of them. And the only way that they're really, I think, making the playoffs with a 10-2 record, or well, it needs to be a 10-2 record. The only way they're making the playoffs is winning out and beating Ohio State on the road.
Yeah, and I
They
just
know
don't
what's in
see
front
it.
of them.
I mean,
But I mean, how could you?
Here's the
How could you
yeah.
genuinely see it right now with what just happened? I'm not going to sit here and speak in absolutes or
No.
in conclusions, but after what we've seen the last 2 weeks, we saw the heart of this team to bounce back and lose a tough one in overtime, and then we saw them go on the road to the West Coast and get beat, which we normally see the other way around. But that's what we saw there at 3:30 on CBS. They got to come back home and play Northwestern, who's not been good. They've been okay, but they haven't been good. They got to play Iowa on the road. Iowa could beat them the way that things went. But again, we're not going to speak in absolutes. That's just based on what we saw. But what we know about this Penn State team is that there is a lot of talent still remaining. And while Tony Rojas was a big part of this defense and the biggest point of communication, there's still room for this team to turn things around and still go on a run. Let's not just act like because they lost this game, because they didn't play anybody in non-conference. We've seen that narrative beat to death in some circles. We cannot act like this team is just completely bad and not going to be able to make themselves known or a presence down the stretch of this season. I think that's still going to be the case.
Well, here's the ultimate thing. I don't think this is necessarily a terrible team. I certainly, obviously don't think that they should have lost this game as you would expect. But
well, who did?
This is right. This is definitely a big red flag for me. This was something that if you looked at last week and just one of those, you chalk it up as same old Penn State. They can't find a way to win the big one under Franklin. That was one of the big narratives, if you want to say it. But obviously, it wouldn't be a narrative if there wasn't some truth to it. This is a team that finds themselves more often than not coming up short in that big atmosphere. But it was never in doubt that they had the talent to be able to handle teams that they should take care of business against. There was a reason why they were a 25-point favorite, something along those lines for this game. You look at it on paper and it seemed like a total mismatch. It was one that even when UCLA jumped ahead in the first half, there was still expectation that Penn State was going to win, that this was just a slow start. They'd get it figured out. And, it took until about when UCLA went ahead 24-7 before the betting market kind of shifted and said, okay, this is really, in danger now for Penn State. They were down 27-7 at halftime, and you're thinking, my goodness, can it get much worse? Well, it didn't. Penn State comes out, they score 14 in a row. They're back in it suddenly at 27-21, and everybody kind of has breathes a sigh of relief, because that's kind of what we were waiting to see, is that it just took them a while to wake up. But give credit, and the credit is due to the Bruins for, being able to handle that punch and counterpunch right back, and get, the lead back extended to 2 scores. And Penn State is not equipped to play catch up. You saw it last week. It felt like when Oregon went up 2 scores, that it might have been a death blow, at least the way that they had been playing their game up to that point. Now, Penn State with the home field was able to do it, get into overtime, and nearly had a chance to get that one won and really silence some of the critics. But it was just not the case where they, could get a whole lot going on the ground, as you mentioned, with Aller being the leading rusher. And it just, for me, this is not exactly, the statement that I want to be making if I am James Franklin, if I'm this Penn State squad, after everything that was talked about in this week of, build up to the road trip to UCLA, coming off of that heartbreaking loss in the whiteout game. I heard somebody saying that we could be looking at, a turning point after the game against Oregon and to see what is going to come about of Penn State in this era of Franklin now with, all the expectations, preseason number 2 team in the country. And this is not the story that you want to be writing here, where you have no wins over a Power 4 team as we sit here at the beginning of October. You're not even in the top 25 now as a result of this. There is some people already now, and I don't know if it's a Stockholm syndrome in the Penn State fan base that is just so conditioned to, that's okay. We take care of business against everybody that we're supposed to take care of business, but we don't win the games that we're, underdogs against. But even some of those people are finally kind of, shaking themselves out of it and saying, is this what we want from our program? Is this what we, are going to suffer through over the next couple of years, where we're going to find ways to lose games like this that we had absolutely no business doing? I don't think that there's any reason for a knee-jerk reaction as a result of this game, but it is a very, very alarming thing to feel as a Penn State fan, that this was just like having to take, a big old tablet for, an allergy. You needed something to try to break up your allergies, and instead of, getting better, you get pneumonia as a result of taking the tablet, because, it didn't end up curing you. It made you worse. There's not going to be any questions answered. Nationally, there's going to be even more talk and, question marks about this Penn State team. And just looking ahead at what they've got, you said, Northwestern, Iowa before that road trip to Ohio State. There's nothing that you can see from these next 2 games that will give you any confidence that going into November, they will be in a position, or going into that last week of October, that they'll be in a position to go on the road and win in the Horseshoe. And even then, after that, they've still got Indiana coming to town. This is a team that could absolutely lose another 2 or 3 games here before the rest of the season. And this is not a team, I think, that is going to end up finding their way into the postseason.
Nobody's claimed that.
They're just, I know you're not talking in absolutes. This is why I am saying it, because
that's why you're speaking in absolutes. So here's the thing. What if this UCLA team, after all the change, Tim Skipper's new head coach, they fired both coordinators, brought in 2 brand new coordinators. Was this a game of pure motivation out of UCLA? They saw a big opportunity and took it, right? What if UCLA goes on a run here? Wins, what do they got? 7? Wins.
Yeah, they got 7.
Wins 4 more games. Ends up winning 5 of their final 8 in response to all the change that happened. Do we look at this game as badly as we look at it right now?
Here's the thing. It just depends on which games they win. If their only big win, let's say they got Michigan State, they got Maryland.
I'm not asking you. No,
Indiana.
don't. We're not doing that bullshit. Sit here and answer the question. You're answering it like a damn politician.
You're
not
adding stuff on top.
I'm not. I'm not.
So
I didn't. I said if they win 5 of their next 7, if they end up, if they win 4 more games, they win 4 of their next 7, end up as 5-7 on the year. Is this game looked at quite as bad? It was a yes or no question.
I think it is, because this is still, you talk about, you could find yourself and play it better, but you're still, I think, there's still that stink in the air about UCLA that has, hung over this team. Yes, they got this win, but they certainly,
you just answered a question
to try to let Penn State.
You just answered the question and proved how illegitimate that thought process is. You just said, because there's a narrative around UCLA. You said there's a stink in the air, essentially saying there's a narrative around UCLA that they are bad, and this is just a bad.
There was a narrative.
But you say because that is the narrative. That the narrative is that UCLA is bad. The stink in the air is UCLA being bad. Therefore, nothing that UCLA does can change the fact that Penn State lost to them and UCLA just sucks.
Well, the results are speaking for themselves, Tyler. 43-10 loss to UCLA, to Utah.
I didn't.
35-10 loss to New Mexico. That's not narrative.
Look at the change. That was before this. If you look at the rest of the year and stop looking at it with such bias for the first 4 games, Look at this team as a brand new team from last week when they fired Deshaun Foster, bring in a whole new coaching staff, or promote a whole new coaching staff, and came out and looked like a completely different team from those first 4 games, and they go on and win 5 of 8 to finish this season out. That is a different team and should be looked at much different than those first 4 games. As this team looked yesterday, that is a different team than what we've seen at any point under Deshaun Foster, period. So to sit here and say that there is a narrative around UCLA, therefore nothing that UCLA does can make this game look any different, is bullshit. And it's because you are looking at everything that the old staff did, and you don't care what this new staff does. That's the way you're sounding.
You got to prove it to me, basically.
Well, no shit. Shit. Am I sitting here saying that UCLA is going to go win 5 of 8? No. But if that's the question, is if UCLA does that. Because look at this schedule real quick. It's not impossible that they do that. And remember, there's some teams on this schedule that are better than the teams they've already lost to. You look at it. They go and play Michigan State next week in East Lansing. Imagine UCLA beats Michigan State the way that team played this week. They get their shit together, settle in, go in there, take care of business. And then Maryland comes across country into town. And they go on and beat Maryland. That's now 3 straight wins going into that game against Indiana. Imagine they go into Indiana and no, they may not keep it close. They may not win because I don't think they're talented enough to beat this Indiana team. Yeah. But say they lose that game. Sure. Come back home and play Nebraska. Imagine they win that game or lose it close. There we are. We're sitting, 4 and 5?
We're sitting
4 and 5?
6, I think.
Well, if they lose, if they win, 4 and 5, they'll lose to Ohio State. There's nothing in my mind that says they can beat Ohio State. Now, granted, there was nothing in anybody's mind that said they could beat Penn State, but sure.
Yeah.
And then they get Washington, USC, which neither of those teams are particularly unbeatable, and USC specifically being a big-time rival on that final Saturday.
Yeah.
It's not impossible to see 5 and 7 from UCLA, and if they were to go 5 and 7 with what they look like under this coaching staff, that's a different team, and it should be looked at differently than just losing to a team that was 0 and 4 and hadn't led at any point in their season, and lost to Northwestern, New Mexico, an undefeated UNLV team, and a Utah team that, all things considered and everything they went through against Texas Tech, is still pretty good, as they showed against West Virginia.
I mean,
to sit here and act like there's nothing that can be done to make this loss look at least a little better, you couldn't possibly get me to buy it.
Yeah, I mean, and that is fair. I think that's a decently fair assessment if that is what is to transpire, and maybe that is something that we could see here. It's tough for me right now to think that. But again, there's always the benefit of hindsight that this could be, the start of something more for UCLA than anything for Penn State. It's just in the moment. How are we supposed to look at it other than based on what we've seen to this point?
Right.
We could play the ifs and whats all we want to, but if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. You love that saying. You say that all the time.
But I'm not sitting here talking about the past and if they could have done something. I'm sitting here asking you. You're trying to change it to make it look like I'm saying something that I'm not saying. All I'm telling you is this game has potential to be a turning point. It has potential for UCLA to look a lot better, and they already did. They've already proven that they are much better under this coaching staff than they ever were prior. That's a fact. That is 100% a fact. And there is talent on this roster that they can go out and do a little bit of damage yet in this season. I don't expect them to pull off another win like they did yesterday. Nobody does. Nobody should. But to sit here and act like that this team did not have an exponential change is just not something I'm buying into. It's just simply not.
Nor should you. Here's the thing.
I suppose we're 2 weeks removed from the Deshaun Foster firing, but we are a week removed from the coaching staff being completely eviscerated and changed. So there's room for it. And Penn State, sure, that it's bad. It looks bad. It's embarrassing. All of those things. And I'm not saying that that's not what it is. At no point have I said that. All I'm
Yeah.
saying is let's not overreact, because we overreacted to Florida State and Alabama, and look at where Alabama's sitting right now. We
Yeah.
overreacted to the. Well, we overreacted to quite a few things, but the things we overreact to tend to be the ones that tend to bite us, right?
Yeah.
And maybe Penn State is what we saw yesterday. But if you look at Penn State, the way they played, and this entire roster over the last 3 years now that has been together, we've never seen a game quite like that.
Yeah.
It's not to say it can't happen. It's not to say they don't go. But I think 8-4 is on the table. I think 9-3 is likely. That's what I personally believe. But there's a long way to go, and there's certainly things that can happen. They have that back-to-back Ohio State, Indiana that's going to really determine things. They have a game they really need to bounce back this week. I think there's a lot of self-reflection about to happen over the next week to really get into that and really try to close out these final 2 games prior to this bye week, prior to going on the road to Columbus. That they'll sit back and they're really going to reflect and figure out who they are and who they want to be on the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Doesn't say that
And
they're going to be good. I'm not saying they answer the playoff
right.
picture, because they can't. In my mind, they cannot enter the playoff picture after this loss unless they run the table the rest of the way. But there's nothing in my mind that says they can.
Yeah.
Not at all. No chance. I think they have to be 10-2, beat both Ohio State and Indiana. If they do that, the narrative changes.
Right.
Just
I
plain
think
simple.
that at the end of the day, the biggest thing is that when you look at what they've done to this point, they've really got to figure out, some of the the struggles that they had in the first half of these last 2 games, and really especially the struggle that they had in the first half yesterday. That when you put yourself in a 20-point hole at halftime, even
I'm telling you, I know what the struggle was. I think we all should really, if we're paying attention, we know what it was, right? Because we watched the difference in the first and second half defensively.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's just they missed Tony Rojas in that game.
Yeah.
They missed him bad. They missed that communication, and it hurt. It put them in a bad spot. That's just simply what I believe to have happened in that game. And I could come back to be wrong, but there's no point in this game where you can blame the offense. This was 100% on that first half and the way the defense played, because the offense took care of the ball. They did their job. They did what they were supposed to do. The defense didn't. And again, in that first half, they only gave up 15 points in the second half.
And I mean,
that's all they
think
gave
about
up.
it, you shouldn't have to ask your offense to match UCLA score for score in the first half in a game like that. And that, I mean, it ends up costing you
no,
when
theoretically you shouldn't, but that the way that game started ultimately set an early tone, and they found a way to answer in the second half, and it was just too little too late. They were down too big to really make it happen.
Yeah.
There's a long
UCLA,
way to go.
For UCLA, they've got Michigan State. It's a winnable game for sure, even going on the road. The thing about it that I'm very concerned about is that this is another instance of having to go on the road. This will be a 9 a.m. body time kickoff, going to flying however many thousands of miles to East Lansing, and I you don't want to dig yourself into a big hole like Penn State did if you want to be able to come out on top and win that game.
Yeah, we'll see how that game turns out. That's got a way to go in its own right. But the point remaining that there is a path for UCLA to not look quite as bad. So that's all I'm trying to get to, and that's genuinely kind of where I want to leave it.
Absolutely fair. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move on here to the big SEC game that we witnessed an upset in. That was Florida taking down Texas 29-21, and it really was just more of the same, I think, in terms of the Arch Manning experience. 16-29 for 263, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Just wasn't really all that good. This team did not run the ball worth a shit yesterday. 52 yards rushing and 2 yards per carry.
Another instance where your quarterback's your leading rusher, and it was Arch Manning with 37 rushing yards. just abysmal. There is something wrong with Texas where they cannot run the ball consistently so far this year. That's not just a game in the swamp that's been the case. I mean, you take away the poor Mary Sisters of the Blind that they played over the last 3 weeks in between the road trips to Ohio State and Florida. You know that those are games that should be handled, and they were. But even then, it wasn't necessarily that they were doing a whole lot on the ground, which they didn't have to do. They were able to throw the ball a bit better and have success through the air.
We'll start with Lagway
That's
taking
what's
care
concerning.
of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it started.
Well, yeah, right. When you're not turning the ball over, it's one of those things that you almost got the biggest question in my mind for this game, Tyler, and maybe you felt the same way, was that I wasn't really concerned about Florida's defense in preventing them from winning this game. It was what offense were we going to get from Florida that really I thought was going to hold them back, and I wasn't. I was thinking under all the way with both of these offenses and their propensity to struggle this year. And DJ Lagway, I think, really stepped up when he needed to and helping to kind of simmer down the flames on Billy Napier's hot seat. I mean, 21 of 28, almost 300 yards through the air, a couple touchdowns. He did have one interception. I think it was a kind of an effort we ball late in the game that put Texas in a position where they were already up 2 scores that he really shouldn't have. But he took care of the ball a lot better than he has in some of these bigger games so far this year, and that was really the thing that I thought would hold them back. But you looked at this, and I think this is a game that was more evenly matched than a lot of people thought. It was just one of those. Florida played a tougher schedule. They had trouble holding onto the football. I really hadn't seen a whole lot from Texas offensively that gave me any, confidence that they could go in and win that game. It was really just trusting their defense a little bit more than trusting Florida's offense to help get Texas the victory, and that's not what we saw at all.
Yeah, you would have thought, especially the way Lagway's had some issues taking care of the football, that a turnover here, a turnover there would probably turn this game into something a little different. It would look similar to probably the OSU Texas game. Texas maybe get a couple more points on the board and maybe end up winning 20-7 or something like that.
Yeah.
And in reality, what we got was DJ Lagway showed up, played his best football at the best time, and Florida ends up winning the game and controlling the game from start to finish. Texas had their moments to try to make this thing something, but they didn't get it done. And again, the longer we go into the year, when somebody proves who they are to you, you sit back and you believe it.
Mm-hmm.
We had an off season between last year, obviously the end of last year and this year, and what we saw last year was Arch Manning play a couple games. He played against UTSA and he played against Mississippi State. He looked significantly better in one game than he did the other, and I'll let you take a guess of which those games were. And when we get to this year, it's very similar. He looks a lot better in the games that they're not playing anybody significant, but then when they're in these big games, it's just not the same. Things don't look right. Things are a bit of a struggle. And that's just the kind of the area that they land in right now, is that they are not really able to beat anybody that's flat out better than them or as good as them. A team that can create pressure, which Florida was able to do a little bit in this game, just generally make him uncomfortable, and you kind of see things fall apart. We'll see what the future holds, but for right now, it looks a lot like this Texas team is probably going to end up being maybe a 3-4 loss team, the way things look. I mean, it could be more. I don't know, but right now it's not looking good, and they're going into next week somehow favored. I don't know why. I don't know how, but I'm not buying it.
I don't buy that at all. I think it's just because they're banking on a lot of people thinking that without Mateer, that Oklahoma's going to struggle, and I mean, I don't know. It feels foolish to trust in Texas at this point, but there's a lot of people that Vegas will make money off of, and there's a lot of people that if they have paid attention so far have an opportunity to, um, you know, get some of Vegas's money back into their pocket.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, here looking at this schedule, Tyler. I'm not going to speak in absolutes, but I think that it is a possibility that Texas could be a 6-16. It is a possibility from based on what we've seen right now that this could be a 6-16 if they do not figure it out. And I don't know if that is that they're going to have to kind of upset the card a little bit and piss off the boosters, piss off the NIL people, all the people that have put a whole bunch of apples into Arch Manning's basket. There's a lot of fans that are saying, kind of like what we saw over the last couple of years, that Quinn Ewers is not the guy. We want to see Arch Manning out there. Well, now Arch Manning's the guy, and Texas fans are saying we need to see Matthew Caldwell out there. He threw one pass yesterday, Tyler, and somehow it was a whole lot better of a throw than anything that Arch Manning did against that Florida defense. In fact, after Caldwell came out on that final drive, he had to throw one pass because Arch Manning's helmet came off
Yeah, 1 for 1
while
for
they were trying to
25.
go down the field. What was that?
1 for 1 for 25 yards.
Yeah. And the very next play after Manning comes back in, he nearly throws a pick that would have ended the game. I mean,
Yeah.
this is getting to be one of those things that Arch Manning has struggled, and I just don't know if it will take a benching for him to get right, or what the case is. Obviously, there's a contingent of Longhorn fans that are wanting to see that. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't
But
know how
if
good it'll
things
work,
don't improve,
but
if Manning doesn't get better, this is a team that could lose to Oklahoma. They could lose to Vanderbilt, Georgia, A&M, and not even to say that they don't have, chances to be got by Mississippi State, Arkansas, or Kentucky. I think that this is crunch time. That we're going to take all of the preseason expectations, throw them out the window. If you can find a way somehow to get to 8 wins at this point, I'll consider this season a success based on what level of left we've seen from them so far here in the first few games of the year.
yeah, absolutely. I'm going ahead and pulling up some of the rest of the things we've seen over the weekend. Going to go ahead and just roll through general scores from the weekend. No need to really push for anything else. We saw what we expected down there in Miami, so we'll just go ahead and talk about it as we see it fit. So let's go ahead and kick it off. American Athletic Conference. Recapping that real quick. And South Florida starts it off Friday night with a win, 54-26 over Charlotte. Dominant late game cover. Love to see it. A big win for them. Saturday, we get Navy with a win, 34-31 over Air Force.
This
Eli
was
Heidenreich.
A great aerial attack.
Eli Heidenreich sets a Navy record for receiving yards in a game with, I believe, 256.
243.
Was it 243?
I've got 243 and 3 touchdowns.
There it is. Yep. With a long of 80.
You also had Horvath, I think, threw for a career high.
Yes, 339, 130 yards on the ground. He basically set a record for passing yards in the game for himself and a career high for total yardage in a game. Just absolutely fantastic. Great game. And a big time win for the.
And give. I was just going to say, give credit where credit's due to Air Force for hanging around. They played a lot better than I think you would expect. Obviously, getting up for a rivalry game. The Commander
Hey, real quick, are you on the mic? Check your Discord. Make sure you're on the right mic.
All right, hold on one second. Should be the right microphone.
I don't think it is
an issue.
Well, I just heard you move, and I heard when your computer moved, it sounded like it wasn't. So,
hold on. Let me.
No, I've got nothing. I can't hear you. Is that thing muted?
It shouldn't be.
Well, try it, because I
Hold
couldn't
on,
hear.
check. Let's see. Check.
Well, I can hear you, but it sounds the same. Yeah. I hear it every time you move that computer. I hear it.
Well, let me try something real quick. Hold on. You go ahead and talk about some of these other scores
Yeah.
while I get this sorted
All right.
out.
Army with a big win over UAB, 31-13, dominant on the road. Really not particularly surprised by that. They were the better team throughout the majority of this game. Temple gets the win over UTSA. Talked about it. 21 points in the third quarter, though, was a bit of a surprise to lead 24-21. They get a field goal in the fourth. They are 1-0. And Casey Keeler, I was making mention that I think Temple can get the job done in this game. And really cool to watch. Same thing down here with Florida Atlantic and Rice. I said that I could see a world where FAU sticks around. I didn't know if they'd win, but they get off to a good start and are able to hold on from there. 27-21. The Owls beat the Owls of Rice down there in Houston. Memphis gets a big win, 45-7. Memphis in the cover is what we like to say around here. 45-7 again over Tulsa. Big time win. They are the first team to make it to bowl eligible this season. Looking at the Conference USA, we had only 3 games this week, and New Mexico State beats Sam Houston 37-10. Western Kentucky beats Delaware as well. I'll try to get that off the screen real quick for you guys. We saw UConn destroy FIU 51-10. That's a big time result down there for the Huskies. They continue to take care of business. They're going to be a team that I think gets to bowl eligible this year. On to the MAC. Ball State beats Ohio 20-14. A late touchdown with under a minute to go was able to put this one away. Ball State with 20 unanswered points in the second half to take care of business. Western Michigan beats UMass 21-3. UMass gets out to a quick start, 3-0, but from there on, it's all Western Michigan. Akron wins 28-22 over Central Michigan. A bit of a surprise there, but not fully. Buffalo with the 31-30 win in overtime over Eastern Michigan. And Miami beats Northern Illinois 25-14. Moving to the Mountain West, San Jose State beat New Mexico 35-28 on Friday night, along with San Diego State beating Colorado State 45-24. UNLV with a 31-17 win over Wyoming, and Fresno State wins 20-17 over Nevada. Now, Notre Dame, we'll just talk about that one here, beats Boise State 28-7. Really just controlled the entirety of this game. Boise State hung around, tied this game at 7 at one point. Notre Dame really rolled, just was better. It was very obvious from the beginning that they were going to be the better team in this one. Looking down at the Pac-12, only one game, and it ends up being part of our Sun Belt talk, which is App State with a 27-23 win over Oregon State, who is now 0-6 on the season. But App State started J.J. Cole for the first time, and really not a bad debut. 13 of 28 was below 50%, but at 218 yards and a touchdown. Rashad Dubinion was a big deal there. 19 carries for 98 yards and a touchdown. Just a big one. Davion Dozier. That's a name we're going to remember for this App State team. 4 catches, 140 yards, and a touchdown with a long of 68. Definitely a big part of the win for the Mountaineers there on Saturday. JMU beats Georgia State 14-7. What a ugly game that was, but a big road win. They move on to 4-1. Arkansas State beats Texas State 31-30. We talked about it. Jonesboro's been tough this year. It's been hard for Arkansas State to do a lot on the road, but they play tough at home. They did it again and pull off a big-time upset. Old Dominion absolutely demolishes Coastal Carolina 47-7. Big deal there. And then Troy beats South Alabama in overtime 31-24. South Alabama moves to 1-5 on the year. We go up here to the ACC. Miami gets the win over Florida State 28-22. Virginia wins in overtime over Louisville 30-27. Pittsburgh beats Boston College 48-7. Just absolutely dominant. This is a first start for Pitt quarterback Mason Henschel, 30-41, 323, and 4 touchdowns. I think they are set. Eli Holstein, appreciate your efforts, but they have found their new quarterback. Clemson wins 38-10 over North Carolina. Really a dominant day there. North Carolina with a late touchdown to bring it back and hit the over for anybody who had that. Wake Forest beats Virginia Tech 30-23, a big-time road win. First ACC win for Jake Dickert as the head coach of the Demon Deacons. NC State with a win over Campbell, 50-6-10. SMU 31-18, but Syracuse does cover that one, 15 points in the fourth quarter from them. But SMU, another win. They're 3-2, first win of the season in conference play. They're 1-0. Duke with a 45-21 win over Cal. Just a better team throughout the course of this one. Up 31 to 21 at halftime. Put 14 more on the board in the fourth quarter. They moved to 4-2. They're 3-0 in conference play. Duke is looking really good early on in this thing. Here we stand. I hit the wrong button. That's my fault. Big 12, BYU 38-24 win over West Virginia on Friday night. Texas Tech gets a 35-11 victory over Houston on the road. Texas Tech is that good. The more we sit back and say that somebody's going to hang around, I think Texas Tech's probably running away with the conference this year. They are that good, looking fantastic early on. TCU's probably the only team I think might hang around. Look at Cincinnati and what they did. 31-15 lead at halftime. They end up winning 38-30. The Bearcats are 4-1, 2-0 in conference play, and they just took down a top 15 team. They were pumped over there at Nippert Stadium yesterday after taking down a ranked opponent. So Cincy might be a dangerous team in this conference themselves. We talk about Houston a lot, but Cincy's doing some really good stuff. Baylor wins with an 18-point fourth quarter to pull it off. They were down 31-17 going into the fourth, and they take care of business. They win 35-34, a late pick six, and then a blocked field goal to end the game. Puts them in control and moves into 4-2 on the season. They're 2-1 now in conference play. Arizona, 41-13 win over Oklahoma State. Noah Fifita looked great, 5 touchdowns on 376 yards. Only played 3 quarters, so anytime you can get a quarterback some rest, it's a big deal. TCU moves to 4-1, 1-1 in conference play with a 35-21 win over Colorado. This game was close for a little while. Looked like TCU was kind of playing with their food. We're able to move on and to get things done. Kansas beats UCF 27-20 after being down 20-14 at halftime. A good third quarter, 13 points was able to be what they needed. The Jayhawks now 4-2 and 4-2 overall, 2-1 in conference play. UCF falls to 0-2 in conference play. On to the Big Ten here. Michigan takes down Wisconsin 24-10. Dominant game overall from Michigan. Justice Haynes becomes the first player to have 100 yards rushing in the first 5 games of a season for the Wolverines since 2010. That was Denard Robinson back in 2010. So a big deal there. A lot of really impressive stuff. Justice Haynes on a Heisman ballot right now, I think certainly belongs. He's done amazing. Bryce Underwood's been okay, but really the story has been what we've seen out of Justice Haynes early. Ohio State dominant over Minnesota. This game was close the first couple drives, and then it was all OSU. 42-3 victory over Minnesota. Already mentioned UCLA with the win over Penn State, 42-37. Illinois beats Purdue 43-27. A 27-point second quarter really put them ahead, and then they just rolled on from there. Washington completes a 20-point comeback, down 20-0 late in the third quarter, and they win 24-20. Impressive stuff on the road. Really showed a lot of fight there. Northwestern beats UL Monroe 42-7, and Nebraska beats Michigan State 38-27. A lot of fight for Michigan State, but I think that at the end of the day, Nebraska just outright better. Down to the SEC as we roll through this one real quick. Only a few games in the conference yesterday. Oklahoma beats Kent State 44-0. Looked good with Michael Hawkins. I don't really see a lot of reason why we wouldn't be concerned about this, or why we would be concerned about this team next week. Texas A&M 31-9. They are as advertised. This is a team that's certainly getting a little bit of a boost if I can find the room for it in my rankings. Florida, of course, 29-21 win over Texas. Alabama 30-14 over Vandy. And Georgia wins 35-14 over Kentucky. A really good week within that range. Now, for those who may be a little bit concerned or interested, we saw some other things as well, some other FCS action. Saw Princeton and Columbia on Friday night. That was a fun game to kind of tune into. 17-10 win for the Princeton Tigers after starting out down 10-0 after the first quarter. Trying to look through, see what other games we have here. Tennessee Tech remains undefeated with a 66-20 victory over Western Illinois. Carrying down through it. We'll see if BJ's back in here. See if he's got it figured out. Give it just a
I
second.
believe I do. That should be different enough that you should notice too.
Move your computer real quick.
Anything? You hear anything?
It's the exact same. I don't know.
It shouldn't be. Let me hold on.
Sorry.
Sure.
Going through. My Flyers remain pretty good this year. 4-1, 2-0 in Pioneer play. 35-28 win over Morehead State.
Check. Any better?
Hello? That's perfect. Actually, I can tell the difference there.
Okay. I don't know for whatever reason why it was not I had to get a different power cable for this mixer that I'm using. So that was the problem. Apparently, it was not even. I mean, it looked on. It was like it was being recognized, but the computer didn't recognize it for whatever reason. I had to go in and look at all the settings, get a different power cable. So we should be good to go. What were you? You're talking about FCS level?
I've finished everything, as a matter of fact. So I'm just going through some of these. Western Carolina, Teron Dickens, 46 straight passes completed. That's a new NCAA record. And he did that to start the game, by the way. He was 46-46. Ended up 53 of 56 in this game.
That's just absurd.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Western Carolina. I mean, have some decorum. You're playing 0-5 Wofford. You only won by 2, by the way. I can't believe that. But impressive nonetheless. He was 46 of 46. And I can't remember exactly what his yardage totals were, but he only finished with, believe it or not, 378 yards on 53 of 56.
Were they just doing a lot of like quick hitters out in the flat, or
I would assume so. I didn't watch the game. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even look at highlights, but I would assume based on the numbers, because he only had like 200 some yards on that 46 to 46. So I don't know. Interesting enough as it was.
Can I give you a couple quick things from the games I watched yesterday that I took before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'm just going back through the rest of these real quick, and then we'll get to that. Harvard with a 59-24 win over Holy Cross. They're 3-0 right now.
Look at that
on the year. So Harvard looking pretty good. Trying to just check through some of the games that meant something yesterday, or some teams that may have been in some conversations. Elon moves to 4-2 in a pretty good battle in CAA play, 17-3. Your boys,
Fighting Musks of Elon.
No.
Okay.
The Elon Phoenix, as a matter of fact. 45-21 win for Mercer over Samford. They improved to 4-1. There should be 4-2, but we won't talk about their non-finished game. Montana State beats Northern Arizona. That's a big game in Big Sky play. 34-10 dominance out of the Bobcats over there. Just trying to roll through some of these. South Dakota State remains undefeated, but they didn't have a lack of effort in that game. 35-30 with Youngstown State. Them Penguins. Tarleton State keeps rolling. They're 6-0 right now. Look like one of the best teams in FCS right now, the way they're doing things. And then look at East Texas A&M getting their first win of the year. Southland against the lowly Northwestern State Demons. 40-10.
Liked what I saw from Ron Peace. He was able to sling the ball around quite a bit, 268 yards. A little bit of some question marks with the defense at times, but hey, give credit to Jack Tyler. Credit where credit's due. It was a very good performance against the team that the Lions should have handled as they did in that game. Also want to give props to the Vaqueros of UT Rio Grande Valley, who are playing their first year of professional football at the collegiate level, obviously.
Their first year of D1 FCS.
The first year of football in school history, if I'm not mistaken, at the FCS level, and they're 5-1, 1-1 with their first ever Southland Conference victory. They defeat Houston Christian 27-7. That's UT Rio Grande Valley. That's not necessarily the lifeblood of the wealth of recruits down in that neck of Texas. It is very tough to go down there and have success. So give credit where credit's due to the Vaqueros. I want to root for them in every game but one, because it's such a feel-good story for them in their first year in Southland play.
Absolutely. We'll close out. Montana escapes. They took a 14-point fourth quarter. They were down 38-28 entering the fourth, and they get the job done over Idaho State. So, hey, survive and advance, and you can remain where
Yeah.
you are. Looking at the rankings right now, if I'm not mistaken, I know they came out today or should have.
Yeah, they should have.
Well, sure
Or
enough, I can't
either that or
see.
tomorrow.
Well, sure enough, I can't find what I'm looking for. FCS Coaches Poll. There we go. North Dakota State remains at number 1. South Dakota State 2. Tarleton State 3. And Montana 4. I have the Coaches Poll apparently has not rolled out yet. But
Yeah,
those are
we'll
some of
get
your
it tomorrow,
undefeateds.
I believe.
You got Lehigh at 8 at 5-0. Tennessee Tech is moved on as well. They got another win this week with Western Illinois. And then West Georgia, by the way, we're talking about feel good stories. West Georgia has been fantastic, along with Presbyterian, the Blue Hose, 5-0 right now as a non-scholarship team. A lot of feel good stories at FCS level. I just felt the need to kind of get through some of it. So what were you going to say before you got so rudely interrupted by your lack of technology prowess?
No, it's all good. I mean, I'm glad that we got a better way of hearing yours truly as well. I certainly apologize that it took this long to get that sorted out. I had no idea that it was giving us issues. Just a couple of quick things. I think Miami should be the number 1 team in the country, flat out. I think when you look at what they've done, even with Florida State, making it a game in the fourth quarter, Miami really, I think, took their foot off the gas. They used so much energy in the first 3 quarters, just dominating that game. The score's a little misleading. Florida State does get the cover, but Miami, I think, is got to be considered the best team in the country, in my opinion, at least. Talking about the Texas A&M, I'm really, really, really confused as to what A&M's doing offensively. This is back-to-back weeks where it was not the prettiest of things. They're not necessarily playing the most disciplined of football. So far they have not yet lost in the Elko era when they've committed like 9 or more accepted penalties. Which just seems counterintuitive, but they find a way to win. It's really been through the defense. But when you've got Marcel Reed and you've got Ruben Owens, Ruben Owens running through defenses the way that he was able to do last night, you're in pretty good shape. Florida defensively, I think, will give A&M a 3rd consecutive home game.
So what do you mean you're not sure what they're
struggles.
doing? Real quick, I want to go back to that. What do you mean you're not sure what they're doing offensively?
I just noticed they have struggled here over the last couple of games in games that really felt like they dominated, but they just were not putting up a whole lot of points, especially going back, compared to what we saw them do against a really good Notre Dame team in South Bend.
Am I misunderstanding what 31 points is?
Well, but Tyler, here's the thing. It was 14-3 going into the fourth quarter. That's a little bit misleading.
Sure. This is a team that ran for 300 yards. On 5.9 per carry and had 2 touchdowns doing it. And it didn't come, by the way, those 2 touchdowns didn't come from either Ruben Owens or Le'Veon Moss, who ended up not getting the majority of carries in the game. But Ruben Owens for 142 yards rushing. And then you have Mario Craver, 2 carries for 35 yards. By the way, he's a receiver. And has a touchdown. And then Marcel Reed had a touchdown on his own. This team ran for 300 yards yesterday. They continue to pound the ball at you on the ground.
Yeah.
And then they supplement it with a pretty just consistent pass game. They're going to be really hard to beat. They are going to be a very tough team to beat. I had already mentioned it. I think that they're really becoming more of a consideration in terms of what I think they might be as a top 5 or even better team. And obviously the rankings have to play themselves out the way I do them, but this is a Texas A&M team that I think might actually have what it takes. Of all the years of thinking, oh, this is finally the team to do it. Finally, 8-4, no more.
Right.
This might be the team that does it. They are damn good.
Yeah.
They got to get better they got to take better care of discipline though, because that's going to hurt them at some point. It hasn't yet. As a matter of fact, it's just been games where they've just been outplayed by the opponents that they've lost.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't figure these turnovers out, it's going to bite them when it matters most, whether it's the SEC title game, which they could certainly make a trip to, or whether or not they go and even make the playoffs. Like they really have to figure out how to be a more disciplined team.
Yeah, discipline and turnovers, because there were quite a few. They had points taken off the board in last week's game. They had points taken off the board last night in their win over Mississippi State. I think there was a punt return or very close to a punt return. They got stopped at the goal line. I mean, give credit where credit's due. I think that was more Mississippi State able to stuff A&M in the short yardage there on 4 straight runs. But we saw that last year in the Texas game, where sometimes, even though it feels like they've improved, they're still susceptible to struggles in that short yardage package. Texas Tech, I think, is the best team in the Big 12, and it pains me to say that as a TCU fan. Texas Tech
Yeah,
left
I
a
already mentioned
ton of
they are just so much
ton of
better.
points, ton of points on the board
And they
last
beat
night.
a really good team. Like, this Houston team
Yes.
is not a team that's going to just lie down and go 5-7 or 6-6.
No,
Like,
and
they're going to
it
push for
just
8 or 9,
was.
I think, this year, just the way they played. And Tech
Yeah.
dominated once again. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
should have figured it out after that Utah game, but I think it's really opening eyes now that this is a good team.
Yeah, Cincinnati is too. I know you probably gave them their roses.
I
As you
did.
should
I think
have.
they're entering that conversation. Their
Yeah,
path is a little more
a little bit trickier. Yeah.
a little more cloudy than some others.
Um, let's see. I'm trying to think if there was anything else really that I noticed that's worth talking about. I mean, I hope you gave some credit to Chandler Morris. He is just one of the scrappiest players I've ever seen. He put
I'm gonna give
body
some
on the
credit to
line to
Virginia
give.
in general
Yeah.
this week. This is a team that you slowed down and said, okay, is Florida State looking ahead, or is this Virginia team solid? They played well. They beat
Yeah.
Louisville as well on the road. They're
Yeah.
working their way into conversation. I still don't like this as a top 25 team, though. I just don't quite buy them as top 25 yet.
I'm right there with you. A couple of defensive touchdowns really was what helped Virginia get themselves to a 10-point lead in the second half. You take either one of those away, and Louisville wins this game, I think, as a lot of people were expecting. Like I said, give credit where it's due for them to find a way to win that game, as unlikely as it may have seemed. But
Chandler Morris deserves some love in terms of a most valuable player type of a. Now, not Heisman. Understand what I'm saying while I'm talking, because Heisman is most outstanding player,
right?
Best stats, all that stuff. But in terms of value to a program, Chandler Morris brings a lot to that Virginia team, and it's just simply because of experience and heart, the want to go out and win games. Like, they've done a great job.
Yeah.
Now,
Cutter
speaking
Boley
of,
is going.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. This is totally off topic. So
Cutter Boley is going to be the reason why Kentucky wins a game they're not supposed to win this year. I don't know who it's going to be against. It could be Texas after what we've seen. I think Cutter Boley may end up out-dueling Arch Manning in that game, and
does
Kentucky
Texas go to Lexington?
Yes. Mm-hmm. They sure do. It's week after next. It's after the Oklahoma game. So, and Kentucky's got a bye to prepare for the Longhorns before they get Texas and Tennessee at home back to back. But Cutter Boley I think the Wildcats have found their quarterback. He looked really good. Had some things that Kentucky weren't able to capitalize on, left them points on the board to keep that game a little bit more competitive at Georgia yesterday. But he was certainly able to sling it against a Georgia defense that has taken some steps in the right direction since that Tennessee game. But they're still a team that's, I think, susceptible to a really good passing attack. So I was pretty impressed watching him out there. Man, you want to talk about a guy that I think might, or a team that might have a quarterback battle ensuing? It was, there was no Eli Holstein for Pitt yesterday, and they didn't seem to mind it at all.
He actually came off the bench to finish the game out. That was a choice that Pitt made as a team to go to the freshman, and he has the job. I think he should unequivocally has the job. They benched Holstein before this game started, went to the freshman, said, you know what, this is your go. You go out there and give it what you got. There's not a conversation. Eli Holstein's going to enter the portal again. There's no conversation about what Pitt's going to do at quarterback going forward. There shouldn't be. And now we've seen this a couple times around now. Nate Yarnell last year to Eli Holstein. We saw Holstein take the job which was projected. We've seen some rumblings of Holstein not going to be the guy, after the last couple of collapses. And I don't really blame the quarterback in all this situation, but I get they wanted to try something new, see what worked out, and it worked.
Yeah.
But remember that this is exactly what happened with Holstein. He came out and played really well, and he won the job. And then a year later, they turned their back on him. It's just, this is kind of becoming a revolving door post Kenny Pickett for Pitt.
Right.
That I think is going to be an interesting way to look at.
Now, obviously, nothing will tear us away from our first love, which was Phil Jerkovic for Pitt. Obviously,
which was originally a Boston College fame. So
yeah, another one. Speaking, that was BC was drubbed in that game.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Big 12 is just wild, man. Kansas State, I think, has got things figured out. They probably should have won yesterday. They left Baylor too much time after they kicked what seemed like a go-ahead field goal. Baylor, I think, is a team.
By the way, Baylor won on a pick six. Yeah. A go-ahead pick six. It wasn't left too much time. They had a pick six with over 2 minutes to go to make it 35-34, and they then blocked the field goal to win the game.
Well, I thought that it was a field goal from them with like less than a minute to go that put them up 35-34. Because it was.
Oh, sorry. The pick six made it 32-31, and then there were the two field goals. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Either way, it's all good.
Nonetheless,
if Baylor was not losing the turnover differential so much, this would be a team that's undefeated. I think right now, 5-1 at worst. I mean, the fact that they're 4-2 and they have. They easily could have won the Arizona State game and maybe even the Auburn game based on what we've seen from them. I mean, obviously, we know what they're capable of. They just have the SMU game's another example. They're the turnover differential has almost bit them in the losses it bit them in the loss to ASU and nearly got them against SMU and nearly got them yesterday. So. And then I have no idea how two defenders colliding into each other accounts to offensive pass interference, but I'm also glad that the football gods don't lie, and the Horned Frogs were able to get the ball back after their punt bounced off of a Colorado lineman downfield on a punt that set up our game-winning touchdown. So TCU able to end up getting the win and end up covering as well in their game against Colorado. Washington, a valiant comeback to go from being down 20-0 with like 5 minutes to go in the third. They win 24-20. That I had given up on them, thinking that the cross-country flight was just going to be a little too much to overcome, and that was not the case at all. So that's really the big takeaway. UCF, I think, was going to win that game against Kansas for Sean Clark before another quarterback injury cost them. Give credit where credit's due to the Jayhawks for being able to come from behind, and after they fell behind 14-0, they were down 20-14 at halftime. They win 27-20 in the bounce house.
Yep.
So that was kind of my big takeaways from the week that was.
Yeah, no, it was a fun week. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was.
Also, somehow Menzies' team went from like 33, 38 points or something like that, and going into the second half of the afternoon games, and all of a sudden he now leads me by 4. But I have 2 guys to play versus his 1 this evening, and they're all Chiefs players, so like somebody's just going to get hosed, and it's going to be what it is. By the way, I made a great pickup though. I picked up Michael Carter in the middle of the week this week, and he had a hell of a game for the Cardinals, man. So.
Yeah,
got me almost 20 points. He's my second highest scoring player, just ahead of my third highest scoring, which is Kaimi Fairbairn, and behind Sam Laporta, who had 20. So
in one league I picked up Damer. It was in our league. I picked up Mercado. Ultimately, had 81 rushing yards, but had a costly fumble. If he'd gotten in the end zone instead of, fumbling there, and I mean that helped Tennessee come from behind to win that game, which is just crazy in of itself. I probably would have been in a position. I mean, I had two running backs that ended up going for more on the bench, which is just ridiculous. So if I lose to RJ, it's because I looked at matchups instead of just going with my gut. So we'll see. But in the other league, I was ahead. I'm ahead in both, but they expect expect RJ squad to get the victory, even still on with the guys still at play. And in my other league, it's going to be a tight finish to the end because Cavante Turpin was a late scratch, and I didn't have another option to use in that league. So we'll see. We'll see if I can win despite being out, being a couple men down in that league.
In other news, totally off topic, RJ just beat Ralph. Therefore, I am 1 win away from a conference title appearance with West Virginia in our online dynasty.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Didn't matter that I got my ass kicked by Ralph. We go on. We move forward.
So what happened? And let me ask you, what happened in that Ralph game? I didn't even get to.
In my game with
watch
Ralph,
it. Was it?
I was on the road. He scored early, and crowd was in
And
it.
the momentum
and then,
just.
Well, it really just became like a lot of players making bad plays. Brendan Sorsby looked bad. It just didn't work out. So, you know what? It was what it was. We had to move on. I got a big win over Arizona in non-con play, obviously, because they're not Big East.
Yeah.
And had a big one, and now we got to. I got to beat Syracuse, which is a non-user, and then I gotta. Hopefully, I walk out and beat Miami too, go 10-2, and then it comes down to me and RJ for a playoff spot. That'd be the ultimate fun and the ultimate goal here. But all I gotta do is win.
Did you talk about the latest with the Mark Sanchez? I mean,
I'm not talking about it on here because I don't.
Right.
I mean, I'll be honest. Everything I've seen, the way it looks, the way it sounds, that's what happens. That's what happens when you do stupid shit. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
That's
you get drunk and try to body slam somebody.
And I'll tell you what, I hope that they did not arrest the other guy. Not even. I didn't even come close. It doesn't sound like they did. I hope they didn't. I hope they don't try to.
Yeah.
That was just fucking.
Once a little
stupid.
bit more of information came out, it's F around and find out kind of deal almost.
Well, yeah, it is, and it's pure stupidity. You can't have that kind of behavior, and ultimately you get what you deserve, and I wish that other places in the world took in that type of mindset and mantra, but I'm glad he's recovering. He doesn't. I mean, I'm glad it didn't result in a life lost. There's too many senseless deaths in this world as it is.
Yeah.
But you don't get to act like a fucking idiot and get away with it. At least you shouldn't. That's the way the world should work. You don't do stupid shit and then get away with it. You don't try to beat somebody's ass and then not pay the consequence. He's lucky the guy didn't have a gun. Is what he is. And he's lucky that whatever that knife was clearly wasn't enough to do some serious damage, because he could have been in a lot worse shape than he is.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I'm glad it didn't result in a life lost. I'm glad, everybody makes a stupid mistake. And Mark Sanchez has been a pretty decent citizen, in terms of somebody who's been in the spotlight for a long time. And, sometimes you're going through something in life, and unfortunately, when you add alcohol to it, it makes you do things that are a lot dumber than you normally do.
Yeah.
I hope that whatever it is, I don't mean to bring my religion or anything into this, but I do pray that he figures out, whatever's going on in his life, whatever led to these decisions and this situation. But I don't particularly feel bad, if that makes sense too. And I don't mean that to sound rude. I don't mean that to sound inconsiderate or even like I just don't care. But you can't feel bad for somebody that does something so stupid, careless, and
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. So, no, I that's all I really have to say about it. I wasn't going to, but I mean, look, is there a world where it seems like everybody's got an opinion about something, and I don't have much of an opinion on anything else in this world other than sports and
College football.
Yeah, college football and the occasional Red Sox blunder. So, and I don't want to talk about that either. Fucking bitches. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. As what it is. Like I said, glad he's doing okay, but
Yeah,
they're supposed to be. So
that's what I've heard.
with that said, let's go ahead and get out of here for the night. Get
Yeah,
back here.
thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, we'll be here tomorrow. We've got
You're closing in on 200.
Yeah, we're two away.
Couple away.
And we got two
Yeah.
people. We got two people watching right now, is what it says. So if you two, I don't know if you're here because you're subscribed or not, but if you're not subscribed, just hit that red button down there. Help us get to 200. That would be the most appreciated thing. We have really built this thing pretty good so far in the first few months, and there's been a lot of inconsistencies lately, and those inconsistencies have been addressed as how I'm going to carry on forward and move forward. And yeah, so we're going to be back this week, and we're going to have 7 days of content this week. I'll be damned if I'm going to be stopped from that idea.
I love it.
It's going to start with tomorrow. I'm going to have a top 25 come out. My top 25. I don't give two shits about that AP 25. And then I'm also going to have my personal Heisman. If I were voting on the Heisman Trophy, this is what my order would be. I think that would be a really cool, a really fun little segment tomorrow. Kind of get us through the last week. Kind of keep us in mind of what we've seen so far, and then we go forward. I don't know what games I'm going to preview for this coming week. I have yet to really take a deep dive into some of the games. Let me go ahead and.
There's a Friday game I think you gotta do a preview of. Because it could be.
I'll talk about it on Friday probably.
Okay.
In a little more detail, but I don't think it's going to get that kind of a thing. But I am surprised that North Texas is a favorite over USF. Michigan and USC.
Home field.
Probably. Michigan and USC is going to be in the conversation for a video because I think that's a big game, and I actually like USC in this game a lot. Alabama on the road against Missouri is going to be fun. Ohio State goes at Illinois, but I don't really, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if Illinois got their head out of their ass. Indiana and Oregon.
Indiana,
That's
Oregon.
getting a game. That's getting a video for sure. Oklahoma, Texas won't, but I have plenty of thoughts on that game. We'll find some time for it.
Yeah.
Georgia, Auburn, could be. I mean, it's a good game. Arizona State, Utah could be a fun one. BYU, Arizona. I mean, there's a lot of good games this week, man. It's going to be a fun one. Those top 25 games are fun. We've got a lot of just overall good matchups, I think, coming up as well. We have our first dose of midweek action. Conference USA starts their Wednesday slates this week with Missouri State, Middle Tennessee State on ESPN2, 7:30. Then at 8 o'clock, Liberty and UTEP will face off. 2 1-4 teams, by the way. And I'm just going to tell you, watch out for the Miners in that game. They might be able to get it done.
I was to say, the
look out for
spread
Thursday.
is only 1.5 for Liberty.
Thursday, ECU and Tulane. I like that game. It's going to be down in New Orleans.
New Orleans, yeah.
The Yulman Stadium. It might not be quite as close, but I could be convinced that ECU might get the job done there. We got Rutgers and Washington Friday night too. That's a fun Friday night game. Washington looking for a little revenge from last year, and Rutgers getting it done on a Friday night in Piscataway. Fresno State looks to go bowling 6-1. They're a fun team in the Mountain West right now.
Only lost to Kansas. They're still looking really good.
Yeah, Navy gets Temple, which is a big deal for the American because Navy's kind of one of the favorites, but Temple has looked good as time's gone on. They've gotten better and better.
You called it with Temple knocking out UTSA.
Indeed, I did. Thanks for letting me know. UCF Cincy.
I mean, I think you already knew, but
by the way, that's a fun game, UCF and Cincy, just because of what it meant a handful of years ago in the American.
Oh yeah.
But Cincy's looking to really roll here, get up to a 5-1 start. What
Yeah,
about a team that
I
might
think
be in
they
a top
will.
25 consideration? That Cincy team's looking really fun for that. That's
another good week of slate.
Yeah, we do. Trying to look just to make sure I'm not.
Florida at A&M. I mean,
yeah, I wasn't gonna say that one just because it falls off a little bit. I mean, Florida winning helps, but I just in Aggie land, hard to say. Your Frogs go on the road this week in a tough environment. That'll be an interesting one. That's a 3:30 kick on Fox. So
yeah, that's why I'm a little surprised we at least open as a slim favorite as on the road. I think we can take care of business. I think we.
Josh Hoover's really cooled off.
But
I'm just kind of waiting to see what transpires as time goes. UNLV looks to stay undefeated. They get Air Force. Later.
Kansas and Texas Tech is a big time showdown.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about big time,
for Big 12.
I think Texas Tech's going to cover.
I think they should, but this will be, I think, one of the most explosive offenses that Texas Tech has faced so far with Jalen Daniels and
I disagree.
This Kansas offense.
I disagree. I'm not saying they are not a good offense that they're going to face, but I don't think it's the best offense they've faced. And I think this Texas Tech D line is going to have a heyday against the K-State O line or the Kansas O line. I think that's going to be a big time role for them. Clemson's got to go up to Chestnut Hill. Boston College just got their ass whooped.
Boston College is also another team that has not defeated a P4 team so far this year.
Yeah, a lot there. New Mexico and Boise State is going to be fun. That's interesting. San Diego State gets looks to go to 5-1. Utah State, Hawaii. That's kind of like a battle of mid-tier Mountain West.
Yeah.
We have some
Arizona
fun
State,
games, man.
Utah,
Week 7
like
is. And I'm off this week. Kind of. I got to go to a wedding Saturday. Fall weddings. Fuck fall weddings, dude. I am sick of these fucking things. This is the first one I've had to attend, and it'll damn sure be the last. I have shit to do next time around. I might be sick. I might have COVID this Saturday.
So what I'm hearing is that we will not be doing a Saturday show, or is that still?
Oh no, we'll be doing a Saturday show. I'll be here in the morning.
Yep. Okay.
Sadly, I just won't be here in the evening.
All right. So, BYU Arizona, 8:00 kick in Tucson. Well, I mean it'll be 5:00 in Tucson when it kicks, but
it'll be. We've got a good week. I don't want to spend a whole lot more time. We're over an hour and a half.
No.
Let's get out of here. We got some fun shit coming this week. So thank you all for tuning in. Again, help us get to 200 subscribers if you're around here. If you're new, haven't seen us before. If you enjoyed what we brought in, BJ's mic catastrophe, my light bulb catastrophe. I mean,
have
seriously,
to go back and listen to how much better it sounds.
It's night and day.
Night and day.
It's crazy. So, no, but appreciate it, man. Thank you for being here as always.
Of course.
And we'll be here tomorrow again. Top 25, Heisman top 5. We got plenty to get to here on tomorrow's episode. So, thank y'all so much. Have a good rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow.